we're going to talk about why Dana White is no longer promoting Canelo versus Crawford. Now, there's a lot of reasons behind this. Obviously, a lot of people are going to have conspiratorial aspects of this theory, hence why they call it a conspiracy theory, which, by the way, is what YouTube is good for, isn't it? Really, I mean, we're not here to give the best news possible, at least not all the time. But what I will do is try to give you the best speculation of this particular matter at hand. Oftentimes, when it comes to combat sports media, especially in the YouTube MMA space, we're oftentimes guessing about what is going on, right? So we see a situation like Dana White, we say to ourselves, well, this is what's going on. And we are so definitive about it, like as if it is the reality of the situation when we really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Something to consider here, right? We don't know what is going on behind the scenes. And more importantly, we don't know if Dana White has other reasons as to why he can no longer take on this particular task. Obviously, Dana White has been told plenty of times by hardcore MMA fans that, you know what you need to do is concentrate on MMA. Now, it looks like Dana White is honestly tired of promoting, right? Because, look, MMA Guru was asked the other day, hey, what would you do if you were the president or the matchmaker of the UFC? How would you go about that particular job, right? Would you enjoy it? You know what he said? He said something that was very profound that I thought was really revealing. And it sort of reveals maybe the particular psyche of Dana White. You know what he said? He said, I don't think I would enjoy it. And let me tell you why. Because then it would become a job. The joy of it would be taken away to a certain degree, right? So if you have a joy in matchmaking or analyzing fights in the UFC and things of that nature, maybe if you started doing it as a job, you would not find it fun or appealing in any kind of way. Well, fast forward 23 years later. Is it 23 years? When was the first time Dana White got put on by the UFC? Maybe 2002 or something like that, right? So now it's been 20 some odd years that Dana White has been doing this job, has been extremely successful at it. Now he wants to try different ventures. And can you blame him? Okay, he tried Power Slap. I mean, is it successful? To what degree do you consider successful, right? Because I'll tell you this, if you ask me, would I rather be the president of Power Slap or would I rather be the president of the UFC? I think you know my answer would. Okay, I think I would rather be the president of the UFC because there's a lot more prestige in that. But here's the funny thing about this, right? I'm not the president of the UFC, but if I become one, it becomes this new venture in my life where it's exciting, it's new, it's fresh, right? There's new challenges to tackle. Shout out to my man with, I believe, what it looks like to be a Korean letters. Hello, how are you, man? Let me know what part of the world you are from. I'm assuming this is either Korean or Japanese letters. Let me know in the comment section below what part of the world you are from, my man. So now imagine, right? Dana White has accomplished everything that he wanted to accomplish in the world of MMA. From Korea. From Korea, all right. Kamsahamnida. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Ansanayo. Thank you. Shout out to you from Korea. So we got some Koreans in the house. I've had people come in here from Bosnia, people from Russia, people from Italy, people from Spain, people from Portugal. I've had a few Brazilians in here. I definitely have a lot of English people in here, a lot of British, Irish, Scottish, all of that. And now we got Korean. So shout outs to you. And let me know how to say your name in Korean. Obviously, I don't know how to read Korean. I would like to call you by a name and not just say, well, this is the gentleman from Korea. But yeah, I'd like to put a name to your face if you don't mind. So let me know what name I can call you, just so I can identify you the next time you comment. My English name is Robert. All right, awesome. Welcome, Robert. Welcome to the Kyrie Abu El-Kheer MMA channel, where we talk about everything MMA and everything surrounding MMA and other geopolitical topics, other topics that deal with the world, topics that deal with the streets, topics that deal with everything relevant in this world, all surrounding MMA, boxing, and combat sports and everything in between. And today's topic is Dana White. Why Dana White got fired from Turki El-Sheikh for promoting Crawford versus Canelo. And is this a positive direction in that we need Dana White in order to, how do I say this, make the UFC great again? All right, maybe that's what we need out of Dana White, is for him to stop all these other promotions and other sports such as power slap or maybe even boxing. But here's the thing, right? Over the years, Dana White has already accomplished everything that he wanted to do in MMA. For example, legalizing MMA in New York. He's done that. Legalizing MMA in other places that didn't want to regulate it. He's done that. As a result, it benefited other companies, other MMA leagues into having fights in, let's say, Paris, in New York, in which he opened New York during 2016 with the Eddie Alvarez and the Conor McGregor headline. And by the way, speaking of headline and Conor McGregor, where is Conor McGregor? What is the next move that he's going to do? Is it going back to the UFC? Or how about this? What if Conor McGregor was to go in there and start boxing, not in regular boxing, but in bare knuckle boxing? Because obviously we already know that he owns the BKFC company. What is he going to do with that? Is he going to continue promoting that? Is he going to continue putting further investments into that? And in particular, is he going to invest in BKFC in a way where he invests in himself as an actual fighter and as an actual competitor of that particular sport? Okay, so Robert says, unfortunately, I'm not a fan of MMA. That's surprising, man. I would think Korea is big in MMA. I mean, you guys have a lot of great fighters over the years. Obviously, there's a Korean Zombie. There's Dong Young Kim, who is really good. There's Doho Choi. I mean, the list goes on of all the top Korean fighters that you guys have. But I'm very surprised, yeah, you're not into MMA. Are you into boxing by any chance? Or are you into any combat sports for that matter? But on any regard, Robert, I'm very much thankful that you are here. So shout outs to you and everybody in Korea. And yeah, let me know if you are a fan of any combat sports at all. But are you a fan of Taekwondo? I know that's obviously not a specific entertainment fighting sport, but it is a sport, a compository sport that does have a huge influence on modern mixed martial arts. So, okay, going into Dana White and why he is no longer promoting Canelo versus Crawford. Okay, so the one reason probably has something to do with the overlapping of the UFC's Noche card that is also going on September 13th. Now, Turki El-Sheikh, originally, what he wanted to do was put this fight on a Friday. Now, personally, I think this is brilliant. I think this is great. And you know what? This was an obvious convenience for me because I don't think I would have really had anything going on that Friday, nor do I know really. I mean, that's just just a couple of months ahead past the summer. So again, I don't really know. But for me, obviously, I'm a combat sports analyst. I am a MMA YouTuber. So, of course, I am going to naturally make time for these particular events. But what about the rest of the world? Can you imagine, okay, you're holding a Canelo Crawford fight on a Friday, and people are just getting home from work. Because remember, by the end of the day, a Friday is still a work day in the American culture, if not all of Western culture, and not so much with Arab and Gulf culture, because obviously Friday is Juma prayers for Muslims, and as a result, it's sort of almost like is our own Sabbath day and what have you, right? Obviously, you look at the Sabbath day, Jews don't work on that day, right? So for Muslims, it's sort of similar in Friday, although I don't think we are obligated or told that we can't work on that day, but on any regard, yeah, that's uh, so it and naturally this fight day, comes about. That's what they are trying to do. They are trying to Gar not going to do that. Fridays. Yes, there has. You want to know, oh, what is this very bad connection here? Why is this a very bad connection in this area? Hold on a second. Hold on. We got a very bad connection going on here. What is this? Man, I hate being in areas with bad connections. How is this area a bad connection? I mean, we're near a freaking school, for crying out loud, man. I guess it's just too many people using up. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the connection is back. Okay, so yeah, going back to what I was saying before I got interrupted with the internet connection here. Okay, so here's the thing you guys have to understand, right? Friday is not going to be the most lucrative day for Turki El-Sheikh and Crawford and Canelo to hold that fight, especially not in Allegiant Stadium. Okay, so now they're thinking about switching up the dates. They're thinking about switching up the venue on top of the dates, right? And it's not that drastic. It's only one day, right? One day is not going to make the fight, other than the fact that, okay, now instead of a Thursday weigh-in, it is now a Friday weigh-in due to the fact that the fight was moved on a Saturday. That's really all there is to that. So, one has to question, right? Is Dana White the right man for this job? And I think Turki El-Sheikh is starting to find out that he's not. Now, look, Dana White already said that he was not fond of stadium fights, at least not for the UFC. Okay, now I don't know about boxing. I don't think he's really that much opposed to a stadium fight for boxing, but he obviously is very opposed to a boxing fight when it comes to, let's say, um, a stadium fight. Yeah, he's absolutely opposed to it for a UFC fight. He doesn't want that for UFC. And I've gone over and over again in multiple live streams explaining why Dana White doesn't want that for MMA. All right, some good reasons, some a little bit anti-creativity, right? Because if you look at the UFC and the way they sort of market their entire brand, it is predicated on just simplicity, right? There's not a lot of high extravagance in the UFC and how they promote their entrances, for example. There's not really a lot of elaborate, attempts to do something like that. There's not really this huge effort of, let's say, creating grand entrances in the UFC, right? On occasions, they have. It has to be for an extremely special occasion where you cannot miss out on it. For example, Adesanya, when he was champion, he did the Undertaker thing. He did a little dance. He did the little Wakanda walk. He did all types of different walks to sort of glam out the entire process, right? But again, that's not always the usual thing to do. So there's a contrast of opinions in how they want to promote this fight. G Body LX says, haha, not this guy again, the wannabe fighter. What exactly is a wannabe fighter to you, G Body? I've showed multiple times on this live stream that I've done fights. I've competed in fights. I've showed that to you. I've showed you my training videos. And then he says 3 viewers. So this is what I'm going to do. Since you don't like that there's 3 viewers in here or whatever, By the way, by the end of this, it accumulates. So I don't think you really understand that, right? Like, okay, there may be 3 viewers in here, but that thing accumulates over time. Eventually, by the end of the stream, I'll get like maybe, 300 to 500 views or this and that. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you on timeout forever. So I'm getting rid of you forever, and that's really all there is to it, because you're useless in this chat, and quite frankly, you're talking about fake fighter or this and that. You don't have any fights. I've had fights. So who are you calling a fake fighter? And on top of that, you don't even have a profile pic for me to roast you, for me to roast how much of an ugly piece of thing that you are. But on any regard, yeah, let's forget about these trolls, because they're just nothing but haters, and that's just what it is. You can never satisfy a hater, right? A hater is always going to have something to say. And then on top of that, look, we got more people coming in here. So you could say what you want, but by the end of the day, hey, listen, I'm going to continue to do what I do, whether you like it or not. And that's really all there is to it. And you know what? Just like Turki El-Kheer, he's going to do what he wants to do, regardless of Dana White's opinions on that particular matter. And by the way, good little segue on that. I think that is primarily the reason why we have this situation going on right now. I think there is a massive differences of opinions when it comes to Turki El-Kheer and when it comes to Dana White. And that alone, I think it's not anything personal. I don't think that Turki El-Kheer is going to be opposed to doing business with Dana White in the future. But just for the particular event of Canelo and Crawford, he may not necessarily be the best guy fit for this job. But then the other reason, Mr. Burberry says, hell yeah, keep doing your thing, sir. Thank you, Mr. Burberry. Shout out to you, my man. That's what I'm talking about, right? It doesn't hurt to speak good towards someone, to speak positively, and not only speak positively, but also show a sense of gratitude in the fact that, hey, you know what? We got people out here that are trying to work hard, trying to provide a service for people out there who have a high interest in combat sports. And then you got an idiot like G Body who comes in here trying to tear everything down, right? That's just what a lot of you people do. You are a bunch of tear down artists. That's what you like to do. You like to tear down others to feel better about yourselves, because let's be honest about this, right? Let's segue this into a little life conversation right now. The majority of people right now, okay, are broke. Let's be honest about this, okay? And I'm not here to tell you and cry to you about my life or the other, because, hey, listen, my life is great. I have nothing to complain about. You see my life. You see how I live. I don't need to speak on it. I don't need to brag about what I got going on or this and that. You watch enough of my live streams, you can kind of understand that I kind of got going on, right? I kind of have positive things going on in my life, of which I don't need to remind anybody. But the majority of Americans right now are broke. They don't have a savings account. Think about this, right? This is what I always think about when I see trolls coming in here. This is what I think about. I think of the fact that many Americans don't even have a couple of thousands of dollars in their bank account for emergency. These are the people that come in here and talk all this smack and troll and speak bad about others and this and that. That's what it is. I mean, I don't want to sound like an Andrew Tate type of guy, but it's just a bunch of brokies who have nothing going on in their lives. And as a result of having nothing going on with their lives and having no money in their savings account for any possible emergencies that could come about, they espouse these views to feel better about themselves and their shitty little lives that they have going on. And I'm sorry that that has to be rude, abrasive, and aggressive, but that's the reality that a lot of you people really need to face when you come in here and you talk that smack. Now, look, here's the thing. One can argue and say something to the effect of, hey, you know what? Maybe I have a great life, so therefore I have all the rights in the world to go and talk smack to some guy that's trying to stream and trying to better himself and trying to create a different avenue for himself in the world of entertainment. Okay, so that's the reality of the situation, guys. I just really wanted to put that out there, right? So you troll and you talk smack, just remember, do I have money in my bank account for emergencies? Because the majority of you who come in here and talk smack You probably don't. That's probably why you're miserable with your life. You hate your life. And as a result, you talk the kind of smack that you do. But on any regard, I'm not here to do that. I don't talk smack about anybody unless it's warranted. But if you talk smack about me, you better believe that I'm bringing hellfire and brimstone your way. And that's nothing less than that. So, all right, let's get to this topic at hand, right? There's also UFC's Noche that we have to take into account, all right? UFC's Noche is being held on the same day as that Canelo and Crawford. So there's a conflict of interest going on there, right? As much as there's a conflict of interest going on, there is also right now, in particular, every combat sports that Turki El-Kheer is being a part of as this cooperative particular matter that they are trying to operate in. For example, Matchroom Boxing and Queensberry, they've never been really that collaborative with each other over the years. And if they did, they would do it at a very limited space, right? So as a result of this lack of collaboration, Turki El-Kheer came into the game and said, all right, listen, this is what I want. I want these fights, but this guy is signed to this guy is signed to that guy. I'm just going to do it all in one banner of Riyadh season. And then lo and behold, these guys collaborated with each other on events. On top of that, he's also involved with TKO, which also does WWE, which also has UFC in their back pocket. And because of these realities, what do? They decide, hey, you know what? Let's just all cooperate with each other. Now, look, here's the thing, right? Is this cooperating when you got two events going on simultaneously at one time? And here's the thing, right? I think that their mindset in terms of collaborating these two events is this. They're probably looking at it like, all right, we're clashing with each other, but we know there are people out there that are going to be watching both that may order both Canelo and UFC's Noche. Maybe that is what's in their mind. Now, my opinion on that particular matter, I don't think that's what's happening, and I don't think that's what's going on. I don't think that's what's going on at all. Because they may think that that's what's going on, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's really what's going on. Like, so in their mind, Turki El-Kheer's mind, he's like, all right, you know what? I lowered down the pay-per-view prices. Okay, so that's also going to include Canelo and Crawford. I've given everybody the money that they need, irregardless of the price of the pay-per-view, irregardless of the price of the arena. And we're going to solve it that way. We just want to put on fights and just say that, hey, Saudi Arabia is the country that put on these fights. Now, again, they are not like other promoters, right? The Saudis are nothing like these other promoters. They're not trying to do a go-out-of-sale business. They're not trying to garner as much money as they can for every event. They have a long-term plan. You want to know what that long-term plan is? What did Trump do when he was in the Gulf states? He made a deal with Saudi Arabia. What do you think made that deal easier? I would say combat sports has a lot to do with why that particular deal is easy. Now, why is that? The reason why that deal is easy is because, think of it like this, right? The reason why that deal was easy to make is because Donald Trump is a UFC combat sports correlated president, right? In other words, Dana White, everything that deals with geopolitical matters in his company, what does he do? He says, you know what? This is what I'm going to do, right? Kamzat can't come to the United States. Who am I going to call? I'm going to call Donald Trump. So as a result of calling Donald Trump, Kamzat is now fighting in Chicago. He now has a fight in Chicago. Can you imagine that? He now has a fight in Chicago in the United States. Who made that happen? Obviously, Donald Trump made that happen. Now, for whatever reason, during the Biden administration, he has this sworn hatred for Russia, this anti-Russian sentiment, to where it vehemently affects many people that are specifically Russian athletes. I mean, not all of them. Obviously, Volkov, Ankalaev, all these other guys, they never really faced any of these sanctionings that have happened to Russia and never really had to face the consequences of not being able to come into the United States. They've had no problem coming into the United States. Obviously, Jan fought Ankalaev. It was no problem. Volkov has been coming in here fighting. He fought Cyril Gane, and I believe that was a United States card. If it wasn't a United States card, he would not be exempt from not coming to the United States. In fact, they would allow him to come to the United States with no problem whatsoever. But why Khamzat? Why is it that he had this problem? Well, the reason why Khamzat had this problem was because he was tied to Ramzan Kadyrov in a very close manner, in a manner where he literally hangs out with this guy as his personal homie. So, of course, the U.S. State Department, who labels Ramzan Kadyrov a terrorist or an enemy of the state, is going to have something to say about Khamzat coming in here to fight in America, and in particular, gaining some kind of monetary gain out of our system and out of our government, while he has these affiliations with somebody that is undesirable to the United States government. Well, lo and behold, Donald Trump, Dana White, and his connections to the White House changed all that. So, again, it's all correlated. The Saudis making a deal with Donald Trump, Dana White asking Donald Trump for favors, in particular getting Khamzat to fight in the United States. And guess what? That Chicago fight, that is perfect for Khamzat. Even though we got two non-Americans fighting, you got DDP, South Africa, you got Khamzat, Chechnya, Russia, Sweden, or UAE, whatever country Khamzat wants to claim. Whatever country that is, Chicago is his hometown. Did you know that? It is his hometown. You want to know why? I'm going to tell you why it's his hometown. Think of it like this. Chicago is a Muslim city. You guys understand that, right? Chicago is a Muslim city. So as a result of being that it's a Muslim city, who is the hometown fighter between DDP and Khamzat Chimaev? Unless, of course, you can tell me that there are South African entities that are surrounded in Chicago. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt they got that many South Africans in that part of the world. But if I'm wrong, let me know. I highly doubt that it's going to be home field advantage for Dricus du Plessis. And in turn, you're going to have all the Muslims turn up in Chicago to possibly witness Khamzat win his first world title. Right? So it was a perfect setting. It was a perfect placement for Dana White to put this event in that particular region in the United States. But more importantly, the fight is in the United States, and that is no thanks to Donald Trump and Dana White. Okay? So now, Turki El-Sheikh is a little bit hesitant in putting Dana White onto this fight because Dana White is spreading too thin. The other side of it is Dana White said, you know what? I did not know, and I forgot that UFC's Noche is going to be held literally on the same weekend. Okay, so he decided, you know what? I can't be in both places at once. So I got to pick. Am I going to go for UFC or am I going to go for the boxing event? That is one particular theory as to what is going on. The other theory, I need you guys to hit the like and subscribe button because I've got some shocking details that I'm about to tell you. I need you to hit the like and subscribe button right now so that I can tell you full details about the other theory as to why this isn't going on. And there's some nefarious situations going on here. All right? I need one more like and I need one more subscribe, and I'm going to tell you exactly what that is. Okay, so I'm going to wait. All you got to do is just hit that subscribe button. One guy hitting the subscribe button and one person hitting the like button, and then we'll go from there. Okay? Josh says I subbed. All right, shout outs to Josh. Shout out to you, my man. Let me know what part of the world you are from right on the comment section below. Everybody give Josh a very warm welcome to our chat and our live stream here. So, okay, the other nefarious reason goes as this. Dana White may have some problems going on with Turki El-Sheikh under the table and behind the scenes. He may have pissed off Turki El-Sheikh. And again, I need to remind you guys, these are speculations. But you know what? These are not speculations that are out of the realm. If you know anything about this particular country, how they do business, how they've done business over the years, this really is not that far-fetched. Now, what is it that they're conflicting over? Is it the fact that maybe Dana White put on UFC's Noche on the same weekend as Canelo, right? Because now they've been traditionally doing a lot of, how do I say this, UFC's Noche fights, right? They did it for the past couple of years now. They did it last year with Sean O'Malley and Merab. Prior to that, they had an Alexa Grasso versus Shevchenko fight in Vegas. So they've been doing these UFC's Noche event. What if Turki El-Sheikh told Dana White, Dana, please, I want you to stop UFC Noche. We don't want to compete with Canelo and Crawford. Please, what you must do, you must stop this event immediately, Mr. Dana White. You must stop this now. Stop this event now. Okay, I'm giving you guys a little visual and a scenario, possible scenario. And by the way, for all you know, this could be fictional. This could be real. One never knows. But I'm telling you that this is my speculation. And Dana White probably said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm an American citizen. I don't have to listen to you. Donald Trump is my president. You're not my president. You're not my king. You're not the head of state of where I'm from. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And you know how that is. You know that Dana White is like that. You know that that's not too far-fetched for Dana White to do something like that or say something like that. And you guys know that, right? You know how Dana White gets down, right? Dana White gets down in that kind of way. So what did Turki El-Sheikh do? Instead of a Friday, he decided, you know what? I'm going to go head-to-head with you guys. But at the same time, is it really sabotaging one of your products? Because let's face it, right? TKO, WWE, UFC, Riyadh boxing season, all of that is now affiliated with each other, right? So, you know the saying, you can't bite your nose to spite your face. And, well, let's just say you're dealing with a different entity here, right? They will do that. You're talking about a country that does not mind losing a certain amount of money. They do not mind losing a certain amount of money in the overall scheme of things when it comes to longer term plans. They don't care. Again, look, you guys got to understand, I'm speculating here, right? I'm not telling you that this is right. I'm not telling you that this is correct. You need to understand that. But you tell me on the comment section below, is that really far-fetched that Turki El-Sheikh may have told Dana White, stop this. Stop this right now, Habibi. I don't want you to hold UFC fight this weekend. No. What you do, maybe you change in 1 week from now, Dana White. Okay? Maybe you do that. You don't do that with my Canelo and Crawford fight. No, Habibi. You don't do this. Does that sound plausible to you guys? That the argument behind the scenes is exactly that? And is it plausible that Turki El-Sheikh will tell the UFC that, hey, we don't want you to have a fight in UFC's Noche. We want to have the Mexican Independence Day weekend. We want that. We got Canelo. He's a bigger Mexican star than everybody. Whoever you got in the UFC who's a Mexican star, maybe you won't even have any Mexicans fighting in a Mexican card, even though the fight is in Mexico. But we want to have the Mexican Independence Day weekend. Drizzy Goat says UFC is bigger than Dana White. Oh, 100%. They are. Nobody is bigger than the program. But you know what? Dana White seems to be bigger than the program. You want to know why? Look, do you remember when Dana White came to, Donald Trump, he came to UFC New York, 309, John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. One of the sponsors called Dana White and said, listen, take that down, that video of you and Donald Trump. All right? It's bad for business. One of the sponsors of the UFC, you know what Dana White told those sponsors? He told them to go straight to Jahannam. And for those of you that are not up on your Arabic, Jahannam means hell, which, by the way, Conor McGregor has used this phrase during the fight week of Khabib and Conor, where he wrote on his Twitter, he said, yeah, I'm chilling in Jahannam, meaning saying that he was ready to go to hell to fight Khabib in that fight week. But yeah, that's what Jahannam means in Arabic, is hell, right? Dana White told those sponsors to go to Jahannam. They're like, I don't care who you vote for. You shouldn't care who I vote for. That's how this works. So if Dana White can literally say this to a sponsor of the UFC and tell them to go to hell, what makes you think that he's not going to tell that to Turki El-Kheer? Or maybe let's just say that he's not going to do that to a man like Turki El-Kheer. I mean, why would you? Would that be the smartest thing in the world? Think about that, right? Knowing what you know about the Saudis, would it be the smartest thing in the world for you to say that? Tell this man to go straight to HELL when you know what these people are capable of. You know what these people are capable of, right? Let me remind you guys. And by the way, I'm a little hesitant to kind of talk about this, okay? Because you have to remember, I'm Arab and I'm in the combat sports space, right? So this is going to be very difficult to talk about because there's going to come a time where I may have to go to Saudi Arabia and they don't like a certain type of talk. But let me just say this, man. Research everything that you know about Saudi Arabia in terms of how they deal with the media. Okay? Which is kind of funny because Turki El-Kheer did say one time to, check this out right here. Let's see if we can get some shots of these bikes right here real quick. Let me see here. All right, so that is why this is the most unpredictable mixed martial arts channel in the history of mankind. We got a little Volkswagen back there with some old school dirt bikes because this area that I am going at right now, it's big for people using their motorbikes out here. Look at this open land we got out here in this area, right? Welcome to West Sacramento, guys. This is literally not really that far from the city. But yeah, as I was saying, please understand this, okay? The Saudis are nothing to play with. They are nothing to play with. So, yeah, take caution in the things that you say about them because they don't take it very lightly. So, I don't know. I don't know if Dana White is that bold to say that to Turki El-Kheer. Or, listen, let's get away from the negative and nefarious side of it, right? Maybe these guys are genuine combat sports fans and they don't mind overlapping two events at once. We're looking at it from a negative side where, all right, you know what, this is not a good idea. This is not a good idea because it's going to overlap. And maybe it's bad for the attention span for fans because then you have to concentrate one or the other. But look, from my anecdotal experience, before the Saudis and before any of these big money conglomerates came into the fight game, there were many fights where there was a UFC card and a major boxing card going on at once, and none of us really minded watching any of it at the same time. And then some of us who are hardcore fans like that, we would have two screens up, either two TVs or two laptops or two different tabs in a laptop, watching these fights and covering them as much as we can, right? Maybe that's who these guys are. Maybe that's who they are at the core, the people who are running the show, right? Where they don't mind overlapping these fights. So as a result of not really minding the overlaps of these fights, they decided, you know what? This is just what we're going to do. We're going to overlap these fights. And as a result of overlapping these fights, we're going to have a great fight anyway. We're going to have a great night. Maybe. But again, understand this, right? Everything that I'm telling you is pure speculation, but has a lot of plausibilities in all the difference of outcomes that I had just mentioned to you, all the different scenarios that I had just mentioned to you. All of these things are a strong possibility. So now, what is the next topic at hand that we just talked about with Dana White and the Saudis and why they decided to go head to head? Look, UFC and boxing are not the only thing that's going to be going on that night. There's also college football going on, which, all right, that's fine. But in all honesty, do international fans really care about college football? This is an American thing. Of course, Americans are always going to watch college sports, but then there's also a portion of Americans that are going to watch combat sports. And quite frankly, combat sports fans, in comparison to mainstream sports and college sports, are a minority in America. So as a result of being a minority in this fan base, they don't really care about the American fan base. Right now, their main prerogative, and you've seen that in the UFC, is the international crowds, because they are the ones that have the least amount of sports in comparison to Americans, to where you can actually market combat sports and add in that one entity that is missing in their sports culture, which is fighting. So the Mexicans, they have soccer. They don't really have anything else other than soccer. And then there's boxing. So you throw MMA in there, it's an easy market to throw in UFC and combat sports and MMA. Same thing in Europe. What do they really got? They got rugby